Hello everybody. So in this video what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over the very bare bone basics of how to navigate Tinkercad. So we've already used Tinkercad a little bit before, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but there are three main things that I want to go over with you within the program. In order to do that, we have to create a new design. So this is our dashboard. This is where you start off when you go on Tinkercad and you log in. So you're going to click Create New Design. One thing you'll notice is every time you create a new design, it starts off with this weird random name. I always like to just give it a more descriptive name, otherwise when you save the file it's going to be all wonky. So just do that first always. Alright, so here we are, we're ready. So like I said, three things that we are going to be focusing on. First one is orbiting. So orbiting is when you can kind of like move around the work plane without actually moving the work plane. So you kind of get to orbit around a shape because this is a 3D modeling program. So to do this, first let's add a shape into our work plane so that we're actually orbiting around something. So right now we have a perfect view between the top and the front. Now you'll notice if you just click and drag, it selects things similar to like Photoshop or some of the other programs that we've been in. But if you hold down right click on your mouse and then you drag, that is how you orbit. Now there is another way to orbit that I want to show you, and it has to do with this little cube up in the top left corner. And this is a cool tool because it allows you to get very precise orbit functions. For example, perfect front view, perfect top view, and then it also has a little bit of like an in-between. So if you're getting, a screenshot or something, you might want like a perfect angle view or something like that. You could use that. But also if you just forget the function, that's a good option as well. But again, with the mouse, it's right click and drag. Alright, so now we're going to get into panning. And panning is similar to what we just did with orbiting. You hold down right click and you hold down shift and then you drag. And that allows you to move the actual work plane around. And you really don't have to do this very often, but it is good to know in case you somehow get off the work plane. You shouldn't really have to worry about moving off the work plane very often, but sometimes you might accidentally get an object off the work plane that you have to kind of bring back, and that's when, panning comes in handy. Alright, last navigation tool is zooming, which is so easy. All you do is zoom in and zoom out by scrolling the mouse wheel. So if you're on a laptop, you would just move up and down. But yeah, that's pretty much zooming. And there's also these really cool tools on the sidebar here. First of all, you go back to home view, which is always that perfect between the top and the front. But there's also a fit all in view tool, which zooms right into all of the objects. And then there's this little zoom in button and zoom out button. So this is another option that you have if you forget the controls on the mouse. This is a flat view option. We really don't use that very often, but just so you know it's there. Now, what's really important when it comes to 3D printing and 3D modeling is understanding what a work plane is. And right now we have one work plane, but something to keep in mind is that you can always add more work planes to your design, just to confirm that things are being perfectly like stuck onto each other. So you can almost kind of think about a work plane as a piece of tape in a way. So for example, let's say I drag this cube right now, and I put it on here. The first place that this cube is going to go is on this blue work plane. Now let's say I wanted it to be perfectly on top of this cube instead. I could move it around, but what I could also do is go over to the work plane tool, which is also W on your keyboard, and then you can actually stick a new work plane right on top of the other cube. So now there's a new work plane, and now I know if I drag my box over here, it will perfectly lay on top of the other cube. So this is an option that you have. You don't have to do it. You can use the other tools that we're going to go over eventually, but this is something good to know. All right, so that is pretty much it for navigating. In the next video, we're going to be going over how to move and manipulate objects in Tinkercad.